I'm joined now by Muktar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Muktar, to review some of our top stories in more detail. Welcome to the show, Muktar.
Thank you, Rolake.
Good to see you. So, Beijing and Washington. Trump is apparently in talks. Do we know whether he actually had talks with Xi Jinping on this tariff issue?
I think it's all about stories. He didn't deny it, neither did he accept it. I think the challenge is that there's no clarity on what Trump really wants to do with Beijing because, again, Beijing still holds the 4 years in terms of when you look at what really drives American economy, is the service sector. And 90% of the service sector derive their product from China.
Right.
And that is the highest employer of labor in America. And so he needs to be careful the way he's dealing with Beijing as regards this issue, this trade war. Because Beijing seems to be very cool, calm about it. He seems to be the one that's all over the place.
Right.
Today he's discussing with Beijing, tomorrow he's discussing with EU, the next day he's discussing with... He seems to be everywhere, 50 countries, 80 countries today, 30 countries. He reminds me of his green card. They said that about 5 million are already waiting to get that his American green card for $5 million and at the end of the day, I don't think he got anybody that has
bought
it.
The gold card.
The gold card,
yeah,
the gold green card.
I recall, yes.
He made so much noise about it and up to this that we've not seen any. So I think Trump is more or less like the celebrity he is. He always want to be in the news, maybe for the right reason or for the wrong reason. This time, I think the American economy is...
But I mean, I guess having said that, sometimes it can seem quite erratic. The way some of the countries have responded, calling for talks, shows that perhaps some of the desired impact of these tariffs will actually come to fruition. The
challenge I have with this tariff, I think, is not unjust for what he's trying to do. Maybe some businesses are being so hard on American product. You can even look at our own country, Nigeria. Up till now, we didn't know that there was some particular product that we're not allowed to bring in here, and we can also export our own product there. So he's looking at, you must be friendly. If we allow you to come in here, then you must also, he's looking at the tariff. There was a time in the United States did what they call reciprocal fee to Nigeria. And if you still remember, it was during Donald Trump, when he said the visa fee that we are paid by Nigeria, by American to come to Nigeria is higher than what Nigerian pays to go to America. So he wants that. I think he's trying to protect the local economy. But I think this time, maybe in terms of trade, it should have started with negotiation first, rather than going all through all these the markets are not responding, flowing. The American economy might enter recession because of some of these policies.
Yes, we have talked about that quite extensively. Of course, if you were following my report on the top of the show, I talked about China halting its LNG imports from the US. So there are broader repercussions to this process. But let's move on to Africa. Elon Musk's Starlink has been licensed by Lesotho in Southern Africa, a small Southern African nation, to operate its Starlink business. Now, interestingly, it's not having so much luck with the South Africans. But can we talk about this initially from the Lesotho's perspective? What is the goal? Is this a positive thing for Lesotho?
I think it's positive for them. They're trying to open up the economy, trying to make sure they bring a big-time player. It's an economy that also has been, relatively doing fairly well. They have enjoyed they have enjoyed stability, not a little bit of stability in terms of leadership and in terms generally of their economy is largely driven by tourism. And so a lot of things are happening there. And when you compare that, you are building a strong internet connectivity on that space. I think it's good for the Lesotho economy as it stands now. I think wonderful thing for the Lesotho economy, but you can't just imagine why it was not able to build that with the South Africans in any way. And being a citizen of South Africa, knowing that you have a South African passport also is something that creates for concern. Because if you look at Lesotho, they're sharing borders with South Africa, so it will be easy for him to establish it both in South Africa and in Lesotho or in all Southern African nations. So I think the political side of it, where the South Africa feel that whatever they are suffering from the Trump administration is driven behind the scene by Elon Musk. And that's a way of getting back to him and say, look, we don't want you in our place. Even if the South Africa said you have to come through the registration process, even if you're a South African, even if you have to register the business, you have to go through our process. They say they are not stopping him, but he think they are stopping him. So I think it's cat and mouse
of course,
game.
we can't sort of take away from all the diplomatic shenanigans going on between the US American government and South African government. But on the Starlink issue, Starlink is now in 22 African countries. Of course, South Africa is missing from the list, Nigeria, Rwanda, and others. You know, how do you see this sort of helping to contribute to the digital transformation landscape in these countries?
It's huge. It's huge. Just in terms of affordability, it's another big challenge. I think the marketing part of it also, it is another big challenge because it's not easy. Knowing that Starlink also you have to pay. Sometimes you have to change your local currency into dollars, or they charge you equivalent of the exchange rate. And when you look at the country like Nigeria, so penetration itself is not as deep as you want to, especially when you know that about 70 to 80% of Africans are in the rural area. So that is, for me, is the major challenge. But in terms of building up the capacity to build a broader, stronger internet connectivity, especially the urban area, that is good. But we look forward whereby we could also translate to the rural area. And affordability also is key if you really want it to build on the help build the economy of Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I recall last year in September, Starlink attempted to increase the monthly subscription fee, and then the Nigerian Communications Commission did intervene, and the company then reverted to the old pricing, which is still not cheap, right? It's about $28 a month, which is like almost 40,000 naira. So anyway, on to other issues. CBEX, the collapse of the platform, has sparked calls for tighter restrictions around online investment trading platforms. You know, every time I hear this sort of news, I think, have we not learnt from past experiences? But it also points to the fact that people are also really desperate, right? I'm seeing it from both sides of the coin.
It's good that you're seeing it from both sides of the coins. And like you said, it's an ongoing thing. It's strive. Scheme like this strive when the economy is good, they strive when the economy is bad. In which way they have to strive? When the economy is good, they promise you huge return. When the economy is bad, they still promise you huge return. So there are people that will be vulnerable for it. And like you said, especially when you look at the reality on ground everywhere in Nigeria these days, when you see where you can get huge return to be able to guide against the challenges that is facing economically. But my take here is that I think the security agency, especially the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Security and Exchange Commission, they've not been on top of their game. These CBEC issues bring to, it was not something that, it's not like the MMM or Omega Fund, those that were shrouded in a lot of secrecy. They don't have an office, they were just a digital. CBEC has an office in Ibadan. They also have an office in Lagos. That showed they were actually operating.
But the SEC has said that CBEC was never officially registered, which should have been a red flag. Which
should have been a red flag. CBEC was not officially registered, I agree. EFCC will say the same thing. But Rolake, if you are driving through one way, will the police not arrest you? Why are they arresting you? They say they are arresting you to protect you and also protect other people.
Yes.
If you are speeding on the road, FRCA will arrest you for overspeeding. Why didn't they just allow you to go, and when whatever happened, they say, oh, he was overspeeding. So the security agent are supposed to step in and say, look, even if you have advertised it, then you go further. Because what they are doing now is medicine after death. You are saying now, oh, you recover all your money, you are going to go after them. Why didn't you go after them when they were not operating in secrecy? They had a bank account. They had an account that people paid money into.
So I guess what you're essentially saying, it's not just about the regulation point, it's about the entire infrastructure.
Exactly.
Regulatory infrastructure. That an entity that presents itself as one thing could then go all the way to open a bank account, which means it must have created some deception around what its true activities.
Deception is not new. Yeah. So if you go today, people will say, oh, in America, it can't happen. It happened in America. Bernard Madoff fund. Swindle almost the rich of the rich. So what is happening is regulation must be top of the game. If CBEC was registered, you can now go to their asset and say, okay, we sell off the asset, we get it back. We'll pay you up, like what happened in the Bernard Madoff fund. Now, in terms of CBEC, even if the AFCC or the security agency, you get all your money, you can't get all your money. Definitely it's not possible because they have no asset. What are you going to go after for?
Yeah.
So the challenge is, as regulators, as security agents, you don't turn a blind eye. Because why are you in government? Government is to protect security, provide prosperity for your people. And when you see the prosperity of your people is being endangered, you need to step in.
So I want to also look at the other side, because I'd like to think that if you approached me and you promised exponential returns in a very short space of time on the basis of me investing a certain amount of money, I will question the legitimacy of that type of investment proposition. So how can Nigerians also better educate themselves as to how to look out for some of these red flags? Because it's one thing for regulators to do their jobs. Regulators regulate banks, but people still fall victim to fraudsters asking for account numbers. So on the education side and the awareness side, I think Nigerians also need to take ownership of that, but we also need to do more to educate people about the dangers of these
I think in terms of education,
schemes.
like, well, no matter how much education you educate people, there are some people that's the only way they strive. I mean, I've known of people that they tell you about one of this scheme or the other. After this, they will see the other scheme, people will still fall. Remember, in the 90s, we have no spectrum. A lot of civil servants failed in putting their money, they would get monthly return. We came to the Omega Plus. In the 80s, there was even Umana. So it's a scheme that has been coming up, and it will still come. After this, in short, you surprise you, Rolake, to know that after this, they are all, these same people are still going to other schemes that will be inviting you that, there's another one. So it's, I think, people that are there, and unfortunately, Rolake, if you look at those people that are really participating in this scheme, there are people in the poorest of the poor, and you ask yourself, how are they able to get 1.something trillion?
Yeah.
That tells you the kind of money we have in this country, because they are looking at $100. And how this came up, first of all, say, oh, you can have your capital.
Sure.
So later on, they say, oh, profit sharing. But in the profit sharing, you cannot withdraw all. So at the time where everybody are almost at the same space, then the scheme collapsed.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, we could talk about this and go on for ages. People have clearly had most of their life savings eroded, and it would be good to see what the outcome of this. Hopefully, we can learn lessons from this. For every scandal of this sort of nature that happens, I hope we're drawing out the lessons and we're putting policies and processes in place.
That's where
Nigerians are then becoming more aware and alert.
I think the takeaway is policies.
Yeah. Okay.
Policies from the regulators.
Okay.
And don't wait until your citizens' finger get burned. The security agent knows how. These people were not spirits.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, Muktar. I don't want us to go on and on and on, but then we then also have the issue of whether regulation is stifling innovation, right? So that balance of regulating and ensuring people are protected and their assets are protected financially, and then wanting to encourage innovation is a balance that we'll have to strike going forward. But anyway, that's it. We've run out of time. Thank you so much, Muktar, for joining us.
My pleasure, always.
Discussion.